This will be a short point from Utopia, but there is a point in which Thomas More says in his letter that it is not possible for him to capture the good in a sense. It is the humility that he tried to present for why he would even write a book, but it is in a sense why an issue that anyone who write about the good would have. The main issue she present, it's a particular issue on the state of man. While the good is all encompassing, that is, the good state is not of a particular person, a person is focused on his own life and see on mainly what in front of him. Not only that, but the fact that he is focused on his own life means that foc- he sees it in sense of time, or in other words, he is limited by his time. Thus, the manner of intellectualizing in itself is the manner of a noble act. A noble act as in aristocratic act, not merely as enlightening, as one would say. No, thus More says in his writing that he had no time to collect info and you in the Robinson translation it is translated for you knew well enough that I was already disburdened for all the labor and study belonging to the invention of this work being Utopia, and I and that I had no need at all to trouble my brains about disposition or conveyance of the matter, and therefore had herein nothing else to do but only to rehearse those things and I which you and I together heard Meister Raphael tell and declare, before there is no cause we wait. Eloquent for as much as he talked couldn't be fine and eloquent. Now to the point that it raised, who don't have the time to write. It is the labor of collecting the said info. The one who says nonsense said to him, editor, he told how we pronounced, and in that sense he is limited to the time he have to study. The time to study contain also the not only to think but to collect, as in to memorize. You organize it in a sense that you would remember it. And by memorizing, you grasping it in a sense. Memorization here, it's not just rehearsing the same thing, although the word rehearse is used, but to organize them in your mind. It's an author that describe that pull up, pull out all the things that he gathered in to the alteration and connects them eloquently and cleanly as he presents them to the audience. He raised another issue. Well, many took it an issue of what is the proper means of what is the proper truth of utopia, and it is in a sense issues of the proper truth of utopia. It's on the proper truth of any discussion on the good. The discussion of good would be by a human language, be it by laws that you being heard about or read. In either case, interpretation is involved, and interpretation is, in a sense, translation. So thus, More says, as you know, um, as you know, of a man better seen in the Greek language than in the Latin tongue. And my writing, denier it should approach to his homily plain and simple speech, so much denier should it go to the truth, which is the only mark where un, there should it go, where unto I do ought to direct, or might travail and study herein. He connecting two things, or even three. There is a proper language for which you speak about the good. It's better to organize in Greek than in Latin, to the distinctions that he make. He connected, and this is connected to the plainness of the speech. The speech needs to be clean and open to understanding. You could connect it in a sense to the plainness of the Gospels, which I guess connected less hold to, but the teachings themselves are clear, in not in the Protestant sense of clearness, but clear. You can understand them. They are not hindered by the language, but open to the human understanding. And that is the basic property of a proper legislator. Legislator, as a proper legislator, is one who gives laws to people. He is a son of man or a divine man in some sense. A man with connection to the divine, that is to say, but he is not but he is a divine man for man. He is not necessarily a son of God, but he is of the gods, so to say, and also of the man in which he speaks to. So these two things go hand in hand. And to do it, it would connect to the previous part. You need to study it. The fact there is a simplicity of the truth. It doesn't mean that it is simplicity of understanding. It is simplicity of. It's not. It would. It is simplicity in sense of it will be plain to the reason. But how much effort go into it being plain to reason itself is not necessarily without any hardship. Many focused here on the fact that it's sort of on the impossibility of, of utopia, but when taken seriously, such thing is the impossibility of the lawgiver. The lawgiver himself is an impossible creature. It's a creature that is within these boundaries, yet is not. Thus, the lawgiver is an odd duck in such situations. History then speak on the how the plainness of the lawgiver, the one who says nonsense, already organized it to him. But in that, but he do that in raising another issue of oratory, or how does law being given? It required a rhetoric. It's need a flourishing. Or in the manner that Robinson translated, el ale- alas, other the invention or the disposition of this matter might have required of this matter. Writing Utopia might have required of a wit, neither base, neither at all unlearned, both sometimes and leisure, and also some study. So we have a three part for it. It requires an eloquence in presentation, a wit, that is to say. It requires something of some basicality to it. That is, it needs to be grasping of the basicality of human nature. Time and leisure to feel, time and leisure to dwell in these notions and studying, which is separate from the time and leisure. Time and leisure could be used for something else. So you need also to study. And study is a different time in this sense. It's It's prerequisite on the time and leisure of the person, but it requires mental state as well. And this comes to the how utopia came to be. But if it were requisite and necessary that the matter should also have been written eloquently, and not alone truly, of a certain thing could I have performed by no time nor study. He was a lawyer, he had no time, and he couldn't study. He is only presenting what he heard. Yeah, I continue to ramble about no time, no time. Ironically, though, he was a lawyer. He dealt with the law on a regular basis. And one of the marks of utopia that the laws are British law. So it's not that he didn't have the time to do it. He was living it. He wasn't outside of it to be able to judge it. That is the freedom that is given by the time and leisure being spoken beforehand. And not only that, it would show the inherent incompleteness of utopia, which purport to be of nothing or no land and of and the good state, the good place, literally, a utopia. Another thing that would bother him would be that he is in a political union. He is not outside, thus is not outside of the laws, but he committed to them, and would be inherently judgmental toward other laws for being if he is within a certain laws. The basic law that he points out toward it's his house, that is the laws of his own, and the laws of his own are not of his own. That is, that is to say, they are contingent about upon other things. That is say, for when I return home, I must comment with my wife. I must I must tell stories to my wife, to chat in the sense of meaningless speech with my children, and to speak with my servants. in the general sense, and not in the particular, and not in the interesting, on the everyday life, that is to say. So, in that sense, he's bound to the formalities of his house and to the time of his house. All the which things I reckon and compete among business, for as much as they must of necessity be done, and done must they need be, unless a man will be a stranger in his own house. And in any wise, a man must so façon, fashion and order his conditions. Quae omnia inter negotia number quae fige necessitatum. I must undo this business. And so appoint and dispose himself that he be merry, kind and pleasant among them, whether either nature has provided or chance has made, or he himself has chosen to be fellows and companions of his life, so that with much gentle behavior and familiarity he do not mar them, and by too much sufferance of his servants make them his maist, masters. So, who is forced upon a political situation that is his family, a basic union of people, which is what one born into or chose in the case of chance and marriage, and the combination of chance and natural potentialities in that case. And by his arena, which he born in, and servants that he is partially free. It's in half nobility of most types. What we are. With among these things now we have stealth away the day, the month, the year. The political situation is what take the day, what take the life, essentially. So you don't have time to write. It's an interesting thing about when does is write. You can pull toward what I present. Humans, when humans do work and have family, the rest of the time it is to sleep. And sleep means no time to write. The implication will be the lawgiver itself is not in a family. He can't be in a family in that sense because he can't be in. He is above the particular order. And if he is in a family, he's not really part of it, such as Socrates, which is in the streets, in the agora, to be to give an example of some famous lawgiver. And the lawgiver would be, if he is of human origin, would be limited because wherein almost a half lifetime of man creeps away. That is, it is inherently limiting the human. Therefore, he wrote only when he ate and drank. With this condition, utopia itself is an impossible project because while he is busy in his life, he need to remember what the one who says nonsense told him, and he can forget. Luckily, he have the natural gift of not being the worst in memory, but the busying itself make him mistrust his natural ability, or in his word, but I don't always trust myself that I think nothing could fall out of my mind. As a family man, he need to be, uh, in a sense, he is a lawgiver, so he is an educator. Then, but he, or the family means duties in that sense. The duty of education for the kid. Yeah, yeah. Now continuing after the education, I pray you heartily call the matter to your remembrance, Oh, yeah. No, it's a bit earlier. Brought me into a great doubt, for whereas the one who says nonsense, Hitlode, unless my memory fails me, is at the bridge of Amarote, which goes over uh, Amaroticum. It goes the river of Andir, Anidel, is 500 paces, that is to say, half a mile in length. My John says that 200 of those paces must be plucked away, for the river contains they're not above 300 paces in breadth. I pray you heartily call the matter to your remembrance, for if you agree with him, I also say, as you say, and confess myself deceived. But if you cannot remember the things, then surely I will write as I have done, and as mine own remembrance serves me, for as I will take good heed that there be in my book nothing false. So if there be anything in doubt, I will rather tell a lie than make a lie. I had be good than a wise rather. Not at all. Here we have three parts. For if you agree, again, self with the you have the part of above, all which we spoke about, lead to the limit of man. That is, he can't forget things due to the conditions that he in, the political conditions that is. Even the minute stuff like how long the river, which is not really minute because that's what a lawgiver would consider when he give laws. But in comparison, it would be minute to the bigger issues. There is a sense of acceptance that a correction in the Republic of Letters that he brings, that is, he was with a friend, and a friend could help me. So the book itself is a communal act, and not merely an act of a singular person. The latter part, which is the difference between saying lie knowingly and lying by mistake. He would rather to lie knowingly, that is, he is in control, than to make a lie. Or the opposite, one sec. Seguitamente, Potios mantém. Erasmus took it as a theological defense. The lie it would be of his own manufacturing because it would be something that he made up, something that came from him and not from the truth itself. Well, lying knowingly, it's not could have a principal reason behind it. I guess I'll stop here, but some thoughts on the possibility of utopia.